Gideon the Ninth doesn't welcome you into its world. It kicks down the door, throws a bone at your head, and tells you to laugh and be afraid. If you read it and thought, wait, did I miss something? You did. On purpose. This is not a summary. It's an exploration, like peeling back the layers of fat and muscle to see the bones beneath. Gross. Sorry. We're digging into the themes, the symbolism, and the prayers you might have skimmed. This video is all about Act 1, the setup, the secrets, and the first real cracks in the tombstone. So let's set the altar. The Empire of the Nine Houses spans a solar system, with each planet ruled by one house, and each house answering to the Emperor, the King Undying, the Necrolord Prime, the kindly Prince of Death, who has somehow been running this whole operation for 10,000 years. Each house has its own distinct identity, purpose, and vibe. The second house, military muscle, strategy, precision, rank, and order. The third, velvet gloves over scheming hands, politics dressed up in pageantry. The fourth is young, hopeful, and brimming with energy. The fifth leans spiritual, obsessed with what happens after we die. The sixth is brains first, scholars, archivists, the kind of necromancers who label their bone collections and alphabetize corpses. The seventh is the tragic house, beautiful and wilting, with a necromancer who might as well have stepped out of a Gothic novel in slow motion. The eighth is full-on religious zealotry, robes and rules and righteousness. And then there's the ninth, buried, isolated, forgotten. A house that feels less like a government and more like a tomb with a mailing address. The ninth house isn't just grim, it's practically entombed. It's buried inside a drill shaft, deep within a planet, with the distant star Dominicus offering barely a flicker of light. The food? Cold. Tasteless. The workforce? Animated skeletons growing snow leeks, because apparently that's a vegetable now. The only warmth here is artificial, and the only company is either silent or decaying. You barely get a page of exposition, but the vibe is loud. Muir sketches this decaying world so efficiently that by the time Gideon makes her 87th escape attempt, you're rooting for her like it's a jailbreak movie. So let's meet our mess. Harrowhark Nona is the necromancer heir to the ninth house. Teenage genius, social disaster, tragic backstory wrapped in bone paint. And Gideon Nav? Well, she's the problem. She's also a sword-wielding, aviator-wearing, magazine-smuggling disaster of a girl who wants nothing more than to leave. From page 1, Gideon is trying to escape. But escape from what exactly? Here's where the book starts laying down its real foundations: trauma, rot, and generational damage. Gideon's mother dies to save her. Harrow's parents kill themselves for reasons we'll learn later. The ninth house nursery goes from 200 children to 3 in 2 years, and no one talks about it. Death is never final and is actually a power source. That's what Thanergy is. The world is built on decay, and everyone is complicit in pretending that's normal. Which brings us to one of the book's core mechanics: denial. Everybody is in denial all the time. Everyone is lying to themselves. Harrow pretends her parents are alive. Gideon pretends she doesn't care. The ninth pretends it's not crumbling. Even the Empire plays along. Muir never explains how necromancy works in a traditional fantasy way. There's no handbook, but the clues are everywhere. Harrow doesn't just raise skeletons, she knows them. She speaks bone like a language. Her power isn't just in the magic, it's in the intimacy. She can name every ridge and joint. She hears bone chips like whispers, which tells us a lot about Harrow, too. This isn't just magic, it's control. Like that moment where she throws a bone chip through a keyhole and it becomes a skeletal hand to unlock the door. That's someone who lives in constant readiness for betrayal. Harrow's skull paint, too, is an armor. Gideon's aviators? They're a rebellion. She's not supposed to own them, and she definitely isn't supposed to look good in them. Harrow and Gideon show up dressed in death, but pretending to be a stable, united front. They are neither. And here's where the book reminds you: nothing in this universe is what it seems. All these lies aren't just personal, They're systemic. The rot isn't just in the tomb, it's everywhere. Like this moment. Gideon, raised in the ninth, doesn't know how to drink tea. That's how bad things are. This isn't a house in decline. It's a dying planet held together by a teenager with bone magic and a very tight grip on denial. Eventually, Harrow makes a deal. Gideon gets to leave, but only if she serves as her cavalier. They leave the ninth behind and arrive at Canaan House, the first house. The oldest, the most sacred, the seat of the emperor himself. Except now it's more of a haunted boarding school. Muir calls it a house both long dead and unkillable. A sleeping throne, a monument, a trap. Together they disembark into a sea of strangers, priests, skeleton servants, necromancers, cavaliers, and immediately cause a stir. Dulcinea of the Seventh faints. Gideon catches her. Harrow flares up. Is it jealousy, possessiveness, or just her playing the role of necro with matching cav? Hard to say, but the tension is instant. And this tension isn't just thematic, it's structural. You'll see it in the rituals, in the power dynamics, in the fact that everyone is walking around like this decaying empire is fine, as long as they speak the right prayers. Speaking of prayers, there's a moment early on when everyone at Canaan House recites a standardized prayer to the emperor, but Gideon has never heard it. Here's a bit worth quoting in full. There's so much packed in here. The ninefold resurrection, the reference to those across the river, echoes of he was God and became man. These aren't just phrases, they're scaffolding. They're the corners of a religion that pretends it's stable and sacred while hiding an open wound. What this prayer does tell us is that the ninth doesn't pray like the others. The ninth house isn't worshiping the emperor. They're guarding something, something that must not be awakened. They're not part of a faith. They're the wardens of a threat. And still, everyone else acts like they're just weird goths who like bones too much. So let's go deeper. If prayer is misdirection, what else is hiding in plain sight? After the prayer teacher, the weirdly delightful weirdo of a man in charge, hands out keyrings and sets the terms: no locked doors, no outside contact, necromancer and cavalier must work together. That's the game. Also, you might die. Here we learn some history about lictorhood shenanigans. 10,000 years ago, 8 necromancer-cavalier pairs came to Canaan House seeking lictorhood. Lictorhood is immortality, god-tier power. The emperor has called again. Finally, a skeleton servant shows Harrow and Gideon to their quarters. And just to be extra dramatic, the shuttles they arrived in are shoved off the landing platform and dropped into the sea. No one's leaving. Gideon, in her head, is already designing the Hogwarts timetable. This place is haunted. The rules are vague. The shuttles are gone. The tension is high. And the lies are already piling up. The titular locked tomb is introduced as a sacred space, a thing that must never be opened. It's also, possibly, a prison. We're told it holds something dangerous. But we're never told what, not directly. That's intentional. Muir doesn't want you to focus on what's in the tomb. She wants you to notice how many people are lying about it. The ninth house exists to guard it. Harrow's life has been shaped by it. And Gideon? She's been locked out of it her entire life. So of course, one day, someone's going to open it. Oh, and before we close, a thing to notice: the rhythm of speech. There's a pattern in how people speak in this book, especially when they're serious or pissed off. Repetitions of 3, like spells or threats or both. Take Gideon, mid-rant. It's funny, it's petty, and it's a pattern. Because repetition, in this world, is a kind of ritual. Pay attention to who speaks in 3s. It's good to notice these patterns early on. You'll thank me later. Gideon the Ninth is a book that hides meaning behind punchlines, horror behind jokes, and tragedy behind sunglasses. It rewards rereading, overthinking, and emotional masochism. We'll be diving even deeper into Canaan House and part 2 of book 1. Trust me, things are only going to get weirder. If you've got theories, questions, or just want to scream about Harrowhark nonagesimus for a few hours, drop it in the comments. Until then, don't trust anyone who quotes the Emperor.